Hi, welcome to Think Human. I'm Chris, and in this video, I want to talk about the human civilization. This profoundly strange place that we find ourselves currently in, this gigantic, global, planet-wide civilization that we have built, this enormous ant's nest. And I find it kind of odd and bizarre that very few people ever kind of stop for a moment and try to look at this human condition, this thing that we have created, from a bit distance further away, and to ask the question, like, what are we doing and where are we going? So it all started really small with survival. Like, the human species has been here for hundreds of thousands, maybe a million years, depending on how we want to define it. And at first we had really small groups of people. At first it was just families, then groups of families came together, then it was maybe tens or few dozens of people, and people had the vision of labor. So some people collected food, some people made tools, some people take care of the children and so forth. And for hundreds and thousands of years, life was exactly the same. You could go from generation to generation and nothing would change in your lifetime. And I think this is kind of hard-coded into our minds genetically, this kind of way of looking at things as if nothing would change. Like, our brains are really bad at predicting the change, especially the time that we are in right now, this current technological revolution that is going on. I think we are really bad at sort of truly taking it in and comprehending our place in history. So this is exactly the reason why I wanted to make this video. So we had the vision of labor, people doing different kind of things, and over time we learned it's better to sort of group together in bigger groups, so then people can get more specialized into things that they do. So around that time, when you had small villages, you had maybe tens, few dozen of different professions that people did, all related to just survival. And as time moved on, the most revolutionary thing, of course, was the agricultural revolution. The discovery that we could actually, use the ground and harvest our food and also keep cattle and keep food in this way. This massively changed the way the human condition works. This changed our way. We became highly organized because of this. And it was possible for some people to do other things than to just focus on mere survival and collecting food. And that's where it sort of started gaining speed, this momentum of our growing strange civilization. I think it's very interesting to think that just a few thousand years ago, we had maybe a few dozen jobs. And now in our current world, we have thousands, if not tens of thousands of different jobs. This is what enables, this is what this global, gigantic civilization enables us to do. People to be more and more specialized, and we will get to why that is important in a moment. So then from tribe leaders grew eventually governments to manage our ever-growing civilization and the complexity of the world that we have created. So from groups of just a few dozen and a few hundred became groups and cities of millions of people. Just to take a moment and think what an enormous change that is. From we are hard-coded, our brains are genetically used to being in groups, small groups of people, maybe a few dozen of people that you interact with. We are not grown up, we are not evolved to deal with seeing thousands of people daily and living in cities with millions of people. But also the human brain is extremely adaptable. So we have sort of adapted to this change of living in these cities. But I would say this is also one of the reasons that many people have health issues, psychological health issues, that it's just overwhelming and crazy, and we are not meant to actually live in these kind of interesting creations, these cities that we have built. In a way, would argue it is unnatural, but we as human beings have created all of this. So at the end of the day, everything that we make is natural. So my point essentially being that now our civilization has grown and advanced so much in a brief period of time that we now live in this civilization, this world, where no single human being can understand how all of it works. People spend entire lifetimes specializing on just learning one part of the economy, or people dedicate their entire lives of studying one species of some kind of insect or bird. In a way, it is kind of absurd how specialized we have gotten, but I think this is also the key to our progress, our technological progress. What I think is most strange and profound is that all of this complexity that we see has arisen with no single goal or plan, no agreement between people. Okay, human beings like 10,000 years ago sat down in a fireplace and all agreed, okay, so generation to generation we will continue the advancement of humankind, and we will evolve towards more and more complexity in our cities and our technology until finally one day we end up in some really bizarre places, but that's a discussion for near future that I will get to as well. So everybody takes their job, their part in our civilization seriously. More or less most people take their position in this civilization seriously. No matter what people do, they take their profession more or less seriously, at least, to be able to get a wage for it, to take it at least that much seriously, to fulfill whatever task they have in this gigantic machine that is the human civilization. And somehow all of this, we have set it up in a way that we are destined to just keep progressing for better and more advanced and more complex civilization and technology. If we would make a graph of the human technological advancement in the last 10,000 years, this is what it would look like. And at this very end point, this tip of this point is where we live. And we continue our daily lives thinking that this is somehow normal. And this is to give credit to the human mind, that we are so this hedonistic treadmill that no matter what happens in our lives and our surroundings, we get used to almost everything that can happen. And especially we, this generation that I am in, I'm 25 years old, sort of more or less 10 years here or there, we are accustomed and used to having breakthroughs and technological advancements. If we wouldn't hear the new iPhone coming out, the flatter smart screen TV, new VR goggles, whatever new fusion breakthrough magic technology that is coming, if we wouldn't hear that news, we would think something is wrong. We live in a time before generations passed and nothing changed, and now we live in a world where we expect change. And yet, in a paradoxical, weird kind of way, most people that at least I interact with daily and people who I communicate with, most people have this impression like this is normal where we are at. And the inability to look back in the last 10 years of advancement, the last 20 years of technological advancement. 20 years ago, we had no smartphones, we had no internet the way it is now, and it has said so many times that people are already numb to this message that 20 years ago we didn't have it, but it's a fact. 20 years ago we had none of this. It's impossible for you to watch this video 20 years ago, except on VHS tapes or whatever they had back then, long time ago. So I think people sort of accept that the changes that have been going on in the last 20 years, but somehow they think that in the future, that right now, things have somehow stopped, and in the next 20 years there won't be as much change somehow as in the last 20 years. But the actual answer to this is the exact opposite. In the coming 20 years, in the coming 10 years, we will begin to see more change than we did in the last 20 years. And this is something that I would really like to get across to people, this exponential growth of technology that we are a part of, and we are just driven to more, better, faster technology. Technological advancement is just somehow in our species, and it's driven by capitalism, of course, but also I think human curiosity and many other drivers. There's just something in us that we want to discover and build and create and understand. And I think that is amazing. But also this is kind of an unconscious process. So same way as no part of an ant's colony individually thinks about, yes, we'll make these nesting places and vents for ventilation and all of this stuff. It just arises from their activities. And I think if ants were like super intelligent, I think what they would build would be very similar to the cities that we have. And I think it's interesting that people rarely sort of stop and think what our part in this is and how it's kind of a weird unconscious process that leads us to ever more complexity. Now, this is not the law of nature, but the way that evolution on at least our planet has worked is that evolution has driven more and more complexity over time. Maybe a similar process is going on with human civilizations, our culture, that it's driven by this sort of social evolution and of thoughts and ideas and creations, that it's driven for more and more complexity. It definitely seems to be this way, at least. So this makes me wonder what the end goal is. It's an unconscious process, and again, so important that we are not at the end. Even in our own human evolution, we are not the end goal. I'm sure that the human body is not the perfect creation that will never change anymore. If we give another million years, we might be quite different, but I think we are already beyond and natural biological evolution, because technology has taken over and we will have capacity to change our minds and bodies, our world, beyond the imagination of what we can even imagine right now. And same way we can do bioengineering, and it's a whole different topic, but unless all our technological progress somehow fades away, we don't need to worry about at least our consequences of biological evolution, of people thinking about what the human being will look like after living in cities for like 100,000 years. I'm pretty sure that in 100,000 years we will have something a bit different than the cities that we have now. So what the main goal of my video is, what I'm trying to say, is that the normal state of things is an illusion. We live in a very unusual time. If you just stop and reflect for a moment, this is a very strange world that we have created, and it will only continue to get more complex and strange. There is absolutely nothing normal about it, even if we have the capacity to somehow rationalize that we are here right now and we get used to everything and this technology, totally normal life that we are living. But I think in the next 5, 10, 15 years, technologies will come, and already are in the works, that will profoundly change our civilization even more. And it makes me wonder what the end point is, and I just wanted to sort of bring out and emphasize how odd it is, this process that is going on, that there is no one single sort of mind that said that this has to be this way, but it's just a natural course of things, that once we got civilization and a few things in place, we just on this trajectory of ever more advancement and technological complexity. And you know, this is now getting more into the realm of speculation, of course, but now if you have paid attention to what is going on in technology is artificial intelligence. And it seems in such a strange way that biological intelligence is beginning to try and create artificial intelligence, and not even only beginning, but already being creating artificial intelligence. As I said before, exponentially more people and resources are going into the study and creation of artificial intelligence, and there is no telling when it will happen. But unless we just drop all of our research and technology, we will get there. And who knows when we will get there, but it might as well happen in the next few years. It might happen tomorrow. It might happen in the next 20 or 50 years, but we are on the road going there. So this is just what I wanted to talk about, how strange it is, this world we have created, and just wanted to talk about this a little bit. Hope it was interesting in some way. If you have any thoughts, please share them in the comments, and of course, thank you so much for watching, and take care.